I'm Kathryn Hart, and today I'm going to talk to you about a chapter in the new Terminale Hit the Road textbook. So I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and getting to do a chapter about my hometown was something that was really special for me. And so this chapter is about how New Orleans and Louisiana are trying to look at their history, their darker parts of history, and trying to come to terms with this. And that's not an easy thing to do. So the idea behind this came about when I went back recently, and after talking with some of my friends about the fact that the Confederate statues that used to be all up around the city had been removed, what we could maybe put to replace some of them. And one in particular, the Robert E. Lee statue, had been used for about a century as a major landmark in the city, and for about 4 years now it has been empty. So this is under the axe of Territoire en Mémoire, and the students are going to be able to see a lot about the history of Louisiana and of New Orleans, and also how the way that the city looks at its history is changing. They don't necessarily want to glorify these moments anymore, but it's not possible to forget them either. So the end of this chapter, the final task is for the students to try and come up with a suggestion of what could go on top of this empty pillar that be more unifying and bring all of the citizens of New Orleans together, and not be something that's just going to be a reminder of this dark history. So the students are going to learn about the general history of Louisiana and New Orleans. They'll see information about the Louisiana Purchase, which really changed the face of the United States. They'll see how Louisiana was a slave-owning state, how there was a rebellion that was very brutally punished. They'll see how today the major plantation homes that you can go and visit, how one in particular has become a museum dedicated to the slave perspective, and how that is new for the United States, to look at its slave past without trying to cover it up. And then they'll see how, driving through the city of New Orleans, you'll see a lot of its history and how the values have changed, and how maybe it's good to question why there aren't more names for civil rights leaders, for example. And then the important document that they're going to need to listen to is the speech given by the former mayor, Mitch Landrieu, who was really at the forefront of removing these Confederate statues and explaining why he thought it was so important. And very shortly after this, there were states in the South that did the same thing. And this was a big debate within the whole United States, so something that is interesting for them to see. And then the last page I'm very excited about, which will help give the students some ideas of how they can replace the Robert E. Lee statue. They'll get to listen to 4 different native New Orleanians talk about symbols that are more unifying for this city. So these are some of the classic things that we think about when we hear New Orleans, the happier things: jazz music, food and gumbo, Mardi Gras and carnival, and then also something that more recently has become a very big part of the city, and that's brought lots of people together, of the football team, the Saints. So all of these things are there to give the students another idea of the history, and to show that despite all of these bad memories, there are things that the city can be happy and proud of, and that could be maybe a better unifying symbol. So I hope that you will enjoy this chapter and that you will have fun doing it with the students. I think that they will be really interested in seeing the history of Louisiana, which is tied to French history, but that is very different and is unique within the United States. So enjoy!